Ki te mana whenua, nai tuahuriri, tēnā koutou, no o tatahi o, ko Erin Kimber toko ingoa. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, katoa. It's great to be here today to talk to all of you. You might find that I repeat a little bit what some of the other speakers have said, because there's a lot of commonalities between my job and what they do, and also some of the career pathways as well. My current role is Kaitiaki Pūranga at the Macmillan Brown Library at the University of Canterbury. And the Macmillan Brown Library is the campus library that deals with New Zealand and Pacific materials. I'm part of a great team there, including the Kaitaka Waianga Māori, the Rare Books librarian, the University Art Collections curator, and our Pacific subject librarian as well. So it's a really great team to work in, and we all kind of do similar but slightly different roles. Our main kind of mission is to collect, preserve and make accessible Canterbury's cultural heritage materials. So my role specifically is to look after architectural drawings, archives and photograph collections. And you can see up there on the screen one of our most beautiful architectural drawings of the curator's house in the Botanic Gardens. Our collection is about 200,000 architectural drawings dating back to the 1860s right up to the present times. So I deal with lots of different formats and also similar things like architectural specifications and other documents relating to architecture. You have to learn how to read handwriting as a key skill. And that's just another example of one. It's a really great job, and I get to be very hands-on with collections, and I get to meet a lot of people. So I'll tell you a wee bit about some of the things that I do in my role. Firstly, the collecting aspect. So that might be going out and meeting with people who have archives, architectural drawings, photographs, recordings, and they want to donate them to the library. So I'll go out and meet with them. I might do a visit to a person's house or business, and I'll go through what they have and talk to them about what they might consider giving to the library and whether that fits with what we collect and how it could be used in teaching and research at the university. That can be really interesting. You get to go to a lot of interesting places, people's houses. Sometimes you'll come across someone who is quite a hoarder and they've got quite a lot of stuff. So we have a rule that we always have 2 people go out on a trip at once, just in case you're in a tricky situation. Once we've accepted material that's been donated to us, the next part of my role is preserving that collection. So that could be cataloguing it, making sure that it's all nicely packaged and shelved and cared for. And our main aim is to make sure that we don't do any further damage to material in the library. Sometimes things will come to you and they'll be in a bit of a rough condition, and you might have to conserve them or fix them in some way. But the biggest part of my job is making things accessible. So some of the things that I do are teaching tutorials. I teach into lots of subjects at UC, including art history, even criminal justice. Some of our archives are used in that course. So I work a lot with academics to find out how our kind of heritage materials that we hold can support their teaching and research. I answer lots and lots of inquiries from people all around the world. So this might be students doing an assignment for uni. It could be an author writing a book, someone making a documentary. With the architectural drawings, I might be dealing with building owners, engineers, heritage professionals. I work a lot with Heritage New Zealand and the Council, as well as archaeologists. And people might come in and use the collections in person, or I can answer a lot of remote inquiries from around the world as well. I do organising, marketing and promotional activities, so that could be everything from social media to giving tours and talks, to making posters, making postcards, doing all sorts of things to promote the collections for use as well. I could work on an exhibition. At the moment I'm curating an exhibition for Kate Shepherd House, and that's a really great way of getting in and researching, spending a lot of time writing and then presenting it to the public, and often you'll do a bit of a public program with that as well, so you might be giving talks, tours, things like that. I spend a lot of time digitising materials as well, so making copies of things for people to either take home or to use remotely in their research. Some of the other things I do are, as I said, care and handling and preservation. I go to lots of meetings. My team is quite small, but I am part of the university, so it is a big organisation and you deal with lots of different people. My career path was kind of similar to some of the people who've already talked today. When I was your age, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I left school when I was 16, and I got a job working in a mall. I just wanted to leave school and get a job. And I've had heaps of part-time jobs, heaps and heaps of part-time jobs, just like everyone else here has said. And then eventually I decided that I wanted to do a degree, and I went to UC and I started out doing an education degree, and I pretty quickly realised that teaching wasn't going to be for me. So my flatmate was doing art history, and I went along to one of her courses and I really loved it, and I kind of got the bug for art history, and I changed and did a degree in art history and art theory. And then after that, I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do, maybe work in a museum or something like that. And I applied for a job at Christchurch City Libraries. And I didn't get the job that I applied for, but they offered me another job as what they call a network library assistant. And that was basically a casual library person who went in and filled in at all the branches wherever they needed someone. And that was awesome. It was actually turned out to be one of the best jobs I've ever had. I got to meet so many different people, and I worked at every single branch in the Christchurch City Libraries network. So that was really great for kind of working out what I liked and where I might like to go. And I definitely recommend that if you get offered like an entry-level job, it might not be what you're thinking you'd eventually like to do. Take it, because once you get your foot in the door, you meet lots of people, you build lots of relationships, and it really does help you get another job. City Libraries was really supportive of me, and they encouraged me to do my Masters in Library Studies. And at that time you could only do it through Victoria, so I worked here and I did my Masters by distance through Victoria and Wellington. And that was really interesting. It was really quite challenging at times. I worked all the way through and I studied part-time, but eventually that helped me get better jobs. So I worked in a range of different jobs here at the public library for quite a while. And then I got a job at Macmillan Brown, and again I've had a couple of different kind of jobs there as well before eventually becoming the archivist. And it can take time. Like Rosemary said, I was 28 when I got my first library job, and I'd worked in hospitality for about 10 years before that while studying part-time. But ever since then, I've stayed in this sector because it's really, really rewarding, and it's led on to kind of better roles as well. There are a few kind of challenges, like Daniel said, challenges of working in this sector. You're pretty much always going to be under-resourced, I find. There's never enough time or money to do everything that you want to do. So that's something to bear in mind, is that there'll often be a feeling of this is quite challenging and I wish I could do more, but you have to kind of focus on the things that you can do. I'll just do another. That is my colleague Matt amongst boxes of archives at my work. And that's what I was talking about. Sometimes you'll get things that have been not kept in great condition. That drawing has been ripped, but we conserved it. Some of the other challenges that you might come across are that you're not going to make a lot of money. I'll be honest in this career. My job isn't really well paid, but it's very, very personally fulfilling. And I think that's something to bear in mind with going into a career in heritage. You really have to think about kind of what your values are and what you personally want to get out of a job and what you would find fulfilling. I really love the aspect of that I'm doing something, I think, contributing to social good and to kind of community and identity. Like some of the other speakers said, I can kind of look around the city and especially the earthquake rebuild and see in some small way I contributed to that. After the earthquakes, our architectural drawings collection was used heavily in the rebuild of the city. People would be coming in and looking at plans for places like the Arts Centre and how they could refurbish or renovate and rebuild their architecture. And some of my most happiest times were when I was dealing with a building owner who was maybe having insurance problems or just hoping to save their building from being knocked down, and they hadn't been able to find the plans anywhere, and then they came in and found them in the library, and I would have people crying who were so happy to see the original plans of their house. And you know, might not sound great making someone cry on the job, but it was actually a really lovely experience for me to know that I was helping someone and making their life a little bit easier. I think another value that's very strong to me is just I like to caretake, and I like to think about myself as just like one Kaitiaki or one guardian in a long stream of history. So while I'm here, I'm doing my best that I possibly can to look after this material for your generation and the generation after you as well. Again, it's all about relationships, and like I've said, just about everyone who's spoken today I've worked with in some capacity in the past, and that's really nice. It makes it you're part of a really nice tight-knit community all working together. So again, I'll go back to saying about getting that foot in the door kind of job. It's really important because that's how you build relationships and get to know people and find out about other jobs. Sometimes they're not advertised. So it is about kind of just knowing that there's an opportunity somewhere. I also look after interns at the university, and you can see here some of my previous interns are working on conserving some architectural drawings there. And I can see Lynn at the back of the room who actually trained these students in conservation as well. So if you can get an internship opportunity and you can do these through UC, I think that's a really great way of, again, getting some experience and finding out what you might like to do and getting to know some other people. I'd say the main skills that you need to have for these kind of roles are definitely curiosity. I'm researching different kinds of things for people all the time, and I might be working on 5 different kinds of inquiries in one day. Everything from perhaps researching a politician to architecture. And I would also say that you need to be able to multitask, and like Rosemary said, have good digital skills, and like Corbin said, have good te reo skills as well. So I think my time is up. Thank you very much for that.